Hey, it's Tammy with Tammy the Caro Art, and this is October. It is our Nate's Art Lab collab, and this month our challenge was a monochrome color palette. We were challenged to pick one color, use black or white, or both, and mix additional colors from that single starting color. My color of choice was Payne's Gray, which won't surprise you if you follow my art. Hopefully you'll stick around and watch all of the train for the collaboration in Nate's Art Lab Collab today, as well as Monday. And we'll see you at the end with some dried results. Thanks and have a great day. For this palette, I used Payne's Gray. I mixed different amounts of white into each color. And you see here I have 4 shades of gray in a monochrome palette. The only colors used were Payne's Gray and white. So this first painting, which is actually a Lazy Susan, when I layered the split cup, I used too much of the lighter tones and not enough of the darker tones. So I actually end up painting over this, and it will be an interesting thing to see what your reaction is, but I used a bit too much of the lighter colors and didn't really like the strainer either. So I am doing a ring pour. I am going clockwise with the ring pour and turning the Lazy Susan counterclockwise, which, if you've never done that before, is not the easiest thing to get down. This just ended up being, probably would have been beautiful if it had more contrast of darker colors. Particularly with the Lazy Susan, I like to use a little bit of a darker palette because the resin can change over time in color when I do the resin clear coat on top. So I did spin this out and just really didn't like, I liked the wavy pattern that it made, but I didn't really like the overall light blue effect. It just wasn't interesting to me. So I decided to do a split cup and ring pour while turning the Lazy Susan and not use the strainer. And that was a much better way to do this Nautilus pour, which oddly enough, this reminds me and will be titled Eye of the Hurricane, because it certainly reminds me of the hurricane graphic that we just saw for Hurricane Milton here in Florida. And right now it seems like even though the hurricane is over, there are lots of things to keep reminding us about this hurricane season. And we'll talk about that at the end of the video, but I do put the flow extender around the outside because I wanted all of that light blue to tilt off of the spinner as I spun it. So it's a lazy spinner on a lazy spinner. And this one, I believe, is a 20-inch. It's art season, and here in Florida, we'll start doing art shows. There are some that have already started in October, but unfortunately the hurricanes have impacted that in a big way. And I think I should be good for my November and December dates. But, you know, things remain to be seen whether or not January, February, and March will be okay in some of those areas like Tampa and further north of here. So I'm on the west coast of Florida, and I do shows on the east coast and the west coast. So I'm constantly looking at both of those hurricane patterns throughout the summer and the fall, because it impacts shows that, you know, we start planning and applying for shows in June. So that's really before the height of hurricane season, and you just never know when an area is going to get damaged. Here is a close-up. I just love that. The Payne's Gray, the darkest shade, came perfectly in on that one. So this is the second of 3 Lazy Susans, and I had scraped my first one. Here's my new cup. I'm going to have that available in my shop. It has a spout, a handle, a lid. It's awesome for mixing paints and keeping your paints. And I was testing it here to see how it did in a ring pour. And I really liked using this cup. I think I'll be using the larger one soon in a special video. So I'm just layering my paint and really trying to balance the light, medium, and dark tones. So I did another ring pour and spun the Lazy Susan the opposite direction. Because of layering these colors with light, dark, this particular one has a lot more contrast. And the main Payne's gray color, when you put 1 part paint to 3 parts Payne's gray, that's the first value. And then the second one was 2 parts white to 2 parts Payne's gray. And the very lightest one was probably 90% white with a little bit of Payne's gray. So what I really enjoyed about mixing this particular monochrome palette was that I used Payne's gray from Creative Inspirations, which has been my go-to Payne's gray color for many, many years. But I also recently started looking at other manufacturers and what their Payne's gray paint is like from a value and undertone perspective. And I'll be creating that video, putting together the trailers of those videos soon and share with you my thoughts on different brands of Payne's gray because they're not all the same. Some Payne's gray has an undertone that's more red, and some have an undertone that lends itself more towards a green hue. And that's particularly what I like about Creative Inspirations is it allows me to mix it with many other blues, greens, and yellows to make a nice coastal palette that's not a red undertone. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just try to keep my blues on the cooler side and really enjoy working with that color. And the other one that I like to mix into other colors to darken is the golden fluid liquid of the Payne's gray. And I find that sometimes instead of adding black to something, if I want to just make it a little bit more of a smoky tone, that I'll use the Payne's gray, and that seems to make a big difference in how it works. So 3 of 3. Of course, I had all this leftover paint, so I wanted to do a 3-cup flip cup, and this is a creation for an order, actually, for a client who wanted something in the middle values of blues that was kind of a cosmic or space themed. When I show you the dried result at the end, I think you'll understand why I kind of call it the Milky Way. One of the things that's interesting about doing flip cups is I do vary how I layer them, so the one in the middle has a little bit more Payne's gray in the bottom. And, you know, the first color you put in is generally the most noticeable, at least in my experience. And I do a lot of flip cup work. And I really liked the way this came out with more of a linear design. And when I sent the photograph to my customer, she just loved it. She said that those 2 medium blue values were right on target and matched exactly what she was trying to coordinate in her kitchen. So I spin this out and then realized that I had like a hard stop there. So I ended up tilting it and evening out that composition. I really hope that you have the time to follow the collaboration videos today and enjoy this monochrome color palette. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. So our Nate's Art Lab collab, I created 3 Lazy Susans. The first one is the largest one. This is a 20-inch Lazy Susan. And of course, it's art season, so I'm getting ready for my upcoming shows. And that means lots of coastal Christmas trees and Lazy Susans right now for me. This one turned out really beautiful. It's still curing, so I haven't put the resin on it yet, but it was a gorgeous Nautilus Pour. And then the second one is equally beautiful, smaller. I used a lot more contrast in this particular pour. So even though all of the colors were made with Payne's Gray as a starting point, this one I included a lot more of the very lightest blue shade that I mixed earlier on camera. And then finally, what would it be without a flip cup or two? I did this piece actually for a client who wanted something in medium to light blues with a cosmic feel, and that's exactly what she is getting. I really enjoyed mixing these colors. I use Payne's Gray a lot in my art, and often mix it with metallics and other colors as well. So come back because there are 2 upcoming videos. First is our collaboration with Fluidart Co. and this little piggy's limited release pigment, which is Benevolence, and I have some. I'm gonna make something super special with that. So that collaboration will be, there are 40 artists, 4 different days of collaborations. My assigned time is on October 29th. And then I do have some additional videos coming up on mixing and comparing Payne's Gray paint brands, as well as new items coming to the Create Monthly Club shop for sale. So just in time for the holidays, you can give your family or your spouse, significant other, your Christmas list, and I've got some really great things coming to the shop on createmonthlyclub.com. That'll be for purchase. They're not subscription related. They're fluid art and resin supplies. So lots coming up, and I look forward to seeing you again soon on another collaboration. Have a great day.